Welcome to the Psychology and Physical Training channel. What causes abnormal behavior? This question has puzzled psychologists and researchers for centuries. As we begin our exploration into the realm of abnormal behavior, it's important to note that this term encompasses a wide array of behaviors that deviate from what's considered normal or typical by societal standards. What's fascinating and equally complex about abnormal behavior is that it's not the result of a single, isolated cause. Rather, it's often the product of an intricate interplay of various factors. These factors span across the biological, psychosocial, and cultural domains of our existence. In this video, we'll embark on a journey to delve deeper into these causes, to better understand why abnormal behavior manifests in the first place. We'll explore the biological underpinnings, the psychosocial stimuli, the cultural influences, and of course, how these elements interact to shape behavior. Let's delve into the first cause of abnormal behavior, the biological factors. Biological causes of abnormal behavior. Our biology plays a significant role in shaping our behavior, and it's no different when it comes to abnormal behavior. When we talk about biological causes of abnormal behavior, we're primarily referring to three things: genetic factors, brain structure, and brain function. Genetics can play a significant role in determining our predispositions to certain behaviors. For instance, research has shown that certain mental disorders, such as schizophrenia or bipolar disorder, have a genetic component. This doesn't mean that everyone with these genes will develop these disorders, but it does mean they are more likely to do so than others. In addition, our brain structure can influence our behavior. The brain is a complex organ with many different parts, each responsible for different aspects of our behavior and cognition. For example, the amygdala, a small almond-shaped structure deep within the brain, plays a key role in our emotional responses. When the structure or function of the amygdala is altered, it can result in abnormal emotional responses and behaviors. Then there's brain function, which refers to the biochemical processes that occur within our brains. These processes are responsible for everything from our thoughts and feelings to our behaviors. When these processes are disrupted, it can lead to abnormal behavior. For example, an imbalance in neurotransmitters, the chemicals that transmit signals in the brain, has been linked to disorders such as depression and anxiety. But it's important to remember that our biology doesn't exist in a vacuum. It interacts with our environment and experiences in complex ways. For instance, someone with a genetic predisposition to a mental disorder might never develop the disorder if they grow up in a supportive, stable environment. On the other hand, someone without any genetic predispositions might develop a disorder after experiencing a traumatic event. So while our biology can make us more susceptible to certain types of abnormal behavior, it's not the only factor at play. Our experiences, our environment, and how we interpret and respond to them can also significantly influence our behavior. However, biology isn't the sole determinant of abnormal behavior. Let's now explore the psychosocial factors. Psychosocial causes of abnormal behavior. Our psychological and social environments also hold considerable sway over our behavior. Let's start with childhood experiences. Imagine a child constantly told they're not good enough, or one who experiences neglect or abuse. These early episodes can shape our self-concept and how we interact with the world, potentially leading to abnormal behavior patterns such as extreme self-doubt or aggression in adulthood. Trauma, too, has a profound impact on our behavior. Traumatic events like accidents, violence, or the loss of a loved one can trigger post-traumatic stress disorder. Symptoms of PTSD can include flashbacks, avoidance behaviors, and emotional numbness. These are clear examples of abnormal behavior that stem from psychological responses to traumatic experiences. Next, let's discuss stress. Everyday life is filled with stressors, from work pressures to relationship problems. While a certain level of stress can be motivating, chronic stress can lead to abnormal behavior. For instance, constant stress might result in anxiety disorders, leading to obsessive thoughts, panic attacks, or irrational fears. Lastly, we can't ignore the influence of social pressures. Society imposes norms and expectations, and those who deviate from them are often labeled as abnormal. For instance, someone who rejects societal norms about career or family might experience social isolation, which can lead to feelings of loneliness and depression. So as we can see, our psychosocial environment plays a crucial role in shaping our behavior. Our childhood experiences, the traumas we endure, the stress we navigate, and the societal pressures we face can all lead to behavioral patterns that deviate from what is considered normal. Remember, understanding these causes is not about labeling or judging, but about fostering empathy, promoting mental health, and creating supportive environments for those grappling with such issues. But how about the culture we grow up in? Let's find out in the next segment. Cultural factors in abnormal behavior. Culture, an often overlooked factor, profoundly influences our behavior. Indeed, the cultural context we grow up in significantly shapes our understanding of what is considered normal and abnormal. Let's take a moment to consider cultural norms and expectations. These are the unwritten rules and standards that govern behavior within a society. They dictate how we should act, think, and feel in different situations. When individuals deviate significantly from these norms, they may be perceived as exhibiting abnormal behavior. For instance, in cultures where emotional restraint is valued, openly expressing emotions might be seen as abnormal. On the other hand, in societies that encourage emotional expression, suppressing feelings might be deemed unusual. Cultural norms and expectations are not static, they change over time and vary across societies. What is considered abnormal in one culture may be normal in another. For example, certain forms of body modification may be seen as bizarre in some societies, but in others, they are rites of passage or markers of beauty. In addition to shaping perceptions of normalcy and abnormality, culture can also directly contribute to abnormal behavior through culture-specific syndromes. These are patterns of abnormal behavior that are specific to certain cultural groups. An example is Koro, a syndrome found in Southeast Asia where individuals fear that their genitals are retracting into their bodies, leading to death. While this syndrome is considered abnormal by global health standards, it's a recognized condition within the cultural context it originates from. Another example is hikikomori, a phenomenon predominantly observed in Japan, where individuals isolate themselves from society for months or even years. While globally, this might be seen as a severe form of social phobia or depression, within the Japanese cultural context, it's often understood as a reaction against societal pressures. Yet it's essential to remember that culture isn't the only determinant of abnormal behavior. As we'll see in the next scene, biological and psychosocial factors also play crucial roles. Yet, it's not just one factor that determines abnormal behavior. It's usually an interaction of these factors. Interaction of biological, psychosocial, and cultural factors. Abnormal behavior doesn't stem from a single cause. Instead, it's an intricate web of biological, psychosocial, and cultural factors. Delving into this complex web, let's start with the biological aspect. Our body's chemistry, genetics, and brain structure can predispose us to certain behaviors. However, these biological factors don't work in isolation. They are influenced by and interact with our psychological and social experiences, forming a dynamic interplay. Consider the example of stress. Biologically, our bodies react to stress by releasing hormones like cortisol. But how we perceive and respond to stress is also shaped by our psychosocial experiences. If we've learned effective coping mechanisms, our stress levels may be lower. On the other hand, if we've faced traumatic experiences, we may be more vulnerable to stress. Now, let's bring in the cultural factor. Our cultural background can shape our understanding and response to stress. In some cultures, expressing stress openly may be discouraged, leading individuals to internalize their stress, which could potentially exacerbate the biological responses. So, you see, the biological, psychosocial, and cultural factors are not separate entities. They are intertwined, each influencing and being influenced by the others. This holistic perspective helps us understand why two people with similar biological predispositions might react differently to the same situation. Their psychosocial experiences and cultural backgrounds can create different perceptions and responses. Another example can be seen in depression. A person may have a biological vulnerability to depression due to their genetic makeup, but whether this vulnerability translates into actual depression may depend on their psychosocial experiences, such as exposure to abuse or neglect, and cultural factors, such as societal attitudes towards mental health. This complex interplay of factors underscores the importance of a comprehensive approach to understanding and addressing abnormal behavior. It's not just about fixing a biological issue or adjusting a social condition. It's about understanding the whole person in their full biological, psychosocial, and cultural context. So, we've seen how various factors contribute to abnormal behavior, but are there other causes? Other causes of abnormal behavior. While the factors we've discussed are the main contributors, other elements can also lead to abnormal behavior. Substance abuse, for instance, can significantly alter an individual's behavior. From alcohol to illicit drugs, these substances can disrupt the normal functioning of the brain, leading to behaviors that deviate from the norm. Physical illness is another potential cause. Conditions like brain injuries or neurological disorders can directly impact a person's behavior. This is because these conditions can affect areas of the brain that control emotions, cognition, and even motor skills. Environmental factors also play a critical role. Stressful life events, trauma, or persistently negative environments can trigger abnormal behaviors. These circumstances can lead to changes in behavior as a form of adaptation or as a response to high levels of stress or distress. Understanding abnormal behavior is a complex task, but with a comprehensive view of these factors, we can work towards more effective interventions. And if you like this video, do not forget to subscribe to the Psychology and Physical Training channel for more videos. Thanks for watching.